I'm not exaggerating when I say that Cyberpunk's new Phantom Liberty DLC combined with Nvidia's new graphics card tech delivers the best looking game experience that I've ever seen. This is a landmark moment in gaming and a new bar set when it comes to highly realistic world crafting. Now, I won't spoil the really cool narrative elements in Phantom Liberty, but if you're a fan of old school sci-fi, there's hints of escape from New York with a presidential rescue and some scenes that are straight out of Ghost in the Shell. And much like the base game, Phantom Liberty is dripping with atmosphere, but this time dialed up to 11 thanks to the continued improvements in its engine tech. Right now, I'm running the game at 4K maxed out visuals on my RTX 4090 with the insane new experimental path trace lighting effect turned on, and it's unlike anything that I've seen before. Also, you can watch this video in 4K on YouTube if you want to see it in all the detail. The updated Cyberpunk world feels real, and it's in large part thanks to the new lighting. It's honestly amazing. At first I was a little bit irked by just some of the really dark areas in the game that I felt were a little tricky to navigate, but then I realized that the lighting is just simply realistic. We're so used to games having some sort of always-on global illumination that when a much more realistic lighting engine drops on us, it's almost jarring by comparison. And I'd like to give Nvidia a huge shout out for sponsoring this video and giving me early access to the game so that I could actually test out all of this stuff without having to rush through it. They specifically wanted me to check out the performance with their new DLSS 3.5 tech, and honestly, it's just stunning. It feels like CD Projekt Red are cheating. They made the best looking game I've ever seen, and it runs incredibly well at 4K maxed out visuals. This just doesn't happen in gaming. Now, obviously, to get the main benefits of Cyberpunk's performance magic, you are going to need a 40 series RTX video card to turn on frame generation. This is sort of the secret sauce. And what you're seeing on screen right now is 4K resolution with all the visual settings pumped to the max, including the new path tracing preview tech. And I'm getting slightly over 100 FPS with a fairly involved scene. Now I'm going to go into the settings and turn off frame generation, and you'll see that we lose pretty much half of our frame rate right there. The frame generation tech is amazing for games that are CPU bound or just sort of capped at a limit of what they can do. And then if we go all the way and just turn off DLSS entirely, well, you can see that I'm getting like 20-ish FPS at 4K resolution with the visuals cranked to the max. It's really crazy to think just how much this game benefits from those NVIDIA features. And we can see similar frame rate differences when this is tested across other titles that involve DLSS 3.5. But Cyberpunk just takes it a step further by saying, hey, we're going to use all of NVIDIA's latest experimental lighting tech and improve your frame rate at the same time, it's just wild. Now, I'm going to shut up about the performance and tech for a sec because obviously Cyberpunk is way more than just breathtaking visuals, and the new 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty DLC are outstanding updates to an already great game. I read a review headline that said that this is the definitive edition of Cyberpunk, and I couldn't agree more. Phantom Liberty really shows that the devs learned how to make Cyberpunk fun from start to finish. The storyline is fun and over the top, yet somehow believable. Let's save the freaking president and also be best friends with Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves along the way. I'm sold on that premise alone, but there's so much more depth and nuance to it than that. And I'm endlessly tickled by the throwback plot to Escape from New York. Clearly, the writers are fans of that now classic movie. Also, the boss fights in Phantom Liberty are epic. One thing I really wish that the main campaign had more of, Phantom Liberty brings in spades. The bosses, or sort of hero type characters that you'll run into, whatever you want to call them, are way more interesting, tricky, and they pop up in a lot more side missions and quests than I think you might expect. And they do a great job of taking a side mission that you feel could be fairly mundane or standard and turning it into a much more epic adventure. Now, Dogtown, the new zone in Night City, is amazing. It's basically a walled off area of the city completely controlled by a single faction. They have their own security checkpoints, police, and an environment that's quite different from the rest of Night City. A more dilapidated, apocalyptic vibe with some truly epic sculpture sculptures and giant salvage sites. The artists honestly knock my socks off with their world design. It's creepily real, and they even have tweakers and stuff on the streets that look oddly similar to some of the real-world situations that we're seeing in the States right now. Entering the main market area of Dogtown for the first time is Cyberpunk really just flexing why they are the best at world crafting. The characters feel alive, the light and detail is simply unmatched, and it just shows artistry and technical skill operating at the absolute highest level. Now, Phantom Liberty on its own is quite cool, but it comes right alongside the 2.0 patch for Cyberpunk that more or less redesigns all of the main sticking points with the game. Cooler vehicle combat, an overhauled skill system that can be respecced at any time without cost, clothing that counts for style points only so you can customize the look of your character without it affecting your stat, and armor being mostly tied into your body mods, which makes a lot more sense. Now, what's cool is that it's pretty much recommended to start a new character and either work your way through the entire Cyberpunk campaign again and then up to the Dogtown DLC, or you can just start right at the Dogtown DLC and they'll give you a character that starts off with some decent gear that you can just get right into it. I did try this option and I thought it worked really well. And of course I was really pulled toward the Netrunner skill tree. It just sort of feels like the dream skill set in my opinion, and there's tons of updates to how it plays. New abilities let you queue up quick hack so you can blind an enemy, set them on fire and hit them with some other attacks, then queue up the same cocktail for their friends. I can queue up an explosive detonation, take control of a vehicle, explode heads, or just jam weapons and go in for the kill the old-fashioned way. There's also a new overclock tree for the Netrunner that unlocks new combos that can let you actually use your own health if you run out of RAM, which is actually super useful, and especially when you combine it with all of the other skills on that tree. There's just a lot of cool new combinations that you can do for some really fun gameplay. They also added in some melee finishing moves now, and you can take arms off of your opponent with like the katana or the laser wire, which is really cool. There's also new weapon mod systems, upgrade shards, and just an endless amount of quality of life upgrades that really show the devs understand their game and figured out just how to make it better. All the weird little things about Cyberpunk that seemed annoying and repetitive are pretty much gone. CD Projekt Red has made a game that really understands itself and how to be its best self with the 2.0 update, which is further driven home by one of the best DLC experiences I think I've ever seen for a game. And I don't know if it's just because I'm playing Phantom Liberty with all the new quality of life updates and crazy visuals, but I am enjoying it significantly more than the first time through with the campaign, and I thought that was still a pretty good experience on its own. The character writing here is top notch. It keeps me guessing as to who my friends really are and gives me lots of meaningful decisions to make along the way that can change what kind of side missions and opportunities I have access to. Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Silverhand, is back as your sort of cynical guardian angel type figure, and Idris plays Solomon Reed, a deep cover agent who kind of becomes your handler as you try to rescue the president and uncover the mystery of who exactly is after her. And also, the best part is the game remembers to keep it light. When you're in the mood for something a bit different than the main storyline, it lets you get into a ton of side missions that can be as simple as stealing some cars or as big as shutting down major security defense systems. Dogtown also has a really cool new loot drop mechanic where from time to time care packages are dropped around the map, and if you follow the red smoke, you'll find some extremely good gear, though it's often guarded by someone who got there first, leading to a fun fight, of course. Now, I could keep going about all the crazy cool stuff in Phantom Liberty, but you guys should really experience it for yourself. This is, in my opinion, an unparalleled experience in gaming, made even better with NVIDIA's DLSS 3.5 tech and the new experimental path tracing. It's just a wild combination of a great game combined with the best visuals I've ever seen, and it's an easy contender for Game of the Year in my opinion. I hope we can see many more iterations and stories in the Cyberpunk universe from CD Projekt Red, because they've created a truly engrossing world that I just can't get enough of. I hope you guys enjoyed this first look at Phantom Liberty. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.